So I've had this idea for a little bit of time, and it's been a niggle in the back of my mind for a bit. I've wondered, can you paint with pencil? So recently I have been in a way much like the cowboys of old and the ancient people, in a way that's very cool and very badass. I have been sharpening my pencils with this knife here. I don't remember where it came from. It just appeared one day. So I've been sharpening. And I had the thought, it creates this really absurd amount of pencil shavings. And I had the thought, what if I take the pencil shaving, use it like you would a paint? Because artist experiment, I'm sure I am not the first person to come up with this idea, but I thought it would be fun to try something a little different and also give me an excuse to sharpen all these pencils without fear. And boy, okay, so story. I carry around a lot of my art supplies with me in a computer bag. I've had it for years. And usually when I go in an art store, I buy these pencils. I like these pencils because they are graphite, pure graphite, no wood. I have a thing about touching wood pencils. Don't like it, not a fan of it. So I think these are very pleasant to hold, and you can do a lot of things with them. Anyways, so I have it in this computer bag, and I've been carrying around these pencils for years, never break. I was in an art store in Canada, and I got the pencils, and they always insist on putting them in a bag. And I'm like, no, you don't have to put them in the bag. Partly because I don't want to, part of the reason I carry around the bag, not to, because trust me, I'm not great about this, but it's the one little thing I do, is for a little bit of environmental stuff. I'm trying to be better about all that, and so I always say, just put it in the bag. I don't need you to bag them. You can just put it in the bag. And this guy, he was so arrogant. He's like, I've been doing this for years. They're gonna break. And I'm like, and I want to respond to him like, they don't break. I've been carrying around these darn pencils for years. But he lectured me about it. Now, to be fair, I initially said no, and then he started to pack them up in this big box. I was like, oh, that's gonna break them. And I said, well, fine. Put them in bags. He's like, well, it's almost like I've been doing this for years. But buddy, I've been carrying around these pencils for years. They never break. I have never once broken them by carrying them in a bag. I have broken them before when I accidentally dropped them or something. They break if you accidentally drop them, but in the bag, they're fine. Bugged me to no end, this dude. And I have been carrying around, and I thought of the perfect comment. I thought of the perfect comeback to him as I was leaving the store, which is, I think, a thing everybody has some experience with. So my thought process was I would shave these, put this in this cup here, and then that could act a little bit like paint. I don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe I should just throw them onto the thing. That might have been a little bit better. I have a reference picture here. I need to change the background, my art thing. But I think that's just what we're going to do. Curious to try this. I've had this idea for a little bit of time, and I'm excited to try this. And if it's a success, it's a success, and if it's a failure, it's a failure. And if it's a failure, then I'm just gonna do a drawing the traditional way. But I want to try that. I want to try this. I'm curious to see if this works. I'm sure other people have done it. I'm sure there are genius artists out there who've done interesting experiments with this. I haven't. And theoretically, I could use a Trello, and I might use that in a little bit, but we'll start with paintbrushes, because it almost makes me feel like special. Move my mouse. I have, at the moment right now, a raging headache. That's a little bit why I don't really feel like, theoretically, I could do this live. I do have a theory about live streams that you do them when you're ready to hang out with people. You should, I am not really in the mood to hang out with people. I just kind of do. So this is, and if you are new to my channel, and I don't know why you would be here if you were new, and you are, I don't know, indulging me. Am I the best artist in the world? No, I'm a dedicated trier, is the way I like to describe myself. Anytime I make a little art video, I always have to preface that. Hey, I know, and if you're used to seeing art videos, it's from talented people who know what they're doing, but I'm not one of them. I'm a guy who doesn't know what he's doing and is trying his best to do them. That might be, this might be the way you have to do this. This is gonna work. This might not work. I was thinking up this idea. I was like, oh, it'd be inventive, and I would have invented a sort of new way to perform this medium. Might not work. A new medium, and I would be hailed as a genius. I know there's a way this can work because I can use the Trellios. I think I'm saying that right. I've taken 3 art courses in my life. I've taken 3 art courses in my life, and one of the teachers pronounced them Trellios. Not a great course taker. I have pretty bad anxiety related to that. So here's what happens. Here's what happens when I try and take a course. A guy will explain something to me. My teacher will explain something to me, and I would go like, yeah, and the words just go through my head. And it's nerves usually, I find, get very anxious when somebody is explaining something to me. Usually if I can sit by myself and like work out these ideas, I do a lot better. But just in the classroom, and especially like a teacher coming up around you and going like silently judging you, and, oh jeez, that is a scary prospect. We're getting this. I'm experimenting with art, darn it, experimenting. It's just, I don't know, I find it a very scary prospect. Ironically, I was just complaining about the guy. The thing did break, but it broke because I dropped it, not because of the bag. I dropped it on the floor. Okay. Aha. So it proved him right a little bit that it would break, but the other one didn't. See this. You must see this to believe it. Like the cowboys of old. So, what was I saying? So, I had such, picturing this video, I was like, oh, I would just do it. Why don't I get the shavings from my pencil sharpener and use those instead of me personally sharpening the pencil? That feels like it would be a better idea. Boy, how do we do this? Well, I guess I can just edit this part out. It's technically what you trained to do, Sean. This will be edited out. Maybe not this part, but a lot of it will be. Because of house renovations, I have to go through the site. And machine collaborating together in a beautiful orgy of drawing. Shaved recently. I am very insecure every time I shave because it's like glorious thing to have a beard. Because while you have a beard, you give the impression that you have a chin. We are being very, very risky because I've done this before and I've got. Well, it gets my hands dirty. Okay, let's do it that way. Would you like some pepper on it steak? Those terrifying YouTube channels that does weird, totally real pranks, right? This in the pepper bottle. I don't think they do that. I think it's more like soft core stuff. Anyway, that one guy, the weirdo, it's like appropriate. Look at that. Now we can do this. Yes. It's flowing just like I wanted it to flow. Wonderful. I use these for inking usually. When's the last time I inked? That is a good question. When's the last time? I'm not a terrible inker, actually. Well, with certain things. Okay. It's so much easier to just use a pencil. In general, I've had good experiences at art stores, so I guess it just annoyed me. And I'm not naming names, so. Ooh, oh, that's so cool. That looks kind of cool, actually. I have these nice fancy paintbrushes that I could theoretically get. I'm nervous. Those cost me like $100 each, so I try and be like, looks like it's inking, which I don't want it to do. Let's try this again. If you recognize these books, that's why I was nervous. Get out of here, ink. You're too reliable if you recognize these books. So I'm doing a little project, hopefully that I'll release at some point to general indifference. But it's fun for me. I'm going through over all my old. I have kept pretty much every sketchbook for the last like half decade. I've been doing art in my house, and we're moving, and so. We're moving at some point. So what I'm doing right now, when I'm going over these sketchbooks, and I'm just picking out all these old all the old art I like, and I'm going to get it bound into at least one book, maybe two. And I have a vague plan of releasing it as an online book, hopefully, or an ebook. And will people buy this? No, nobody's going to buy this. One or two people will be very nice and do it, but I don't expect anybody to buy it. I think it'll be fun to do. Actually, this is kind of cool. I just think it'll be a fun idea to do, so I'm doing it. And so I'm just going through over all the art I've done in the last 6 or 5 to 6 years. And this is like an old sketchbook that Barnes & Noble used to sell that they seemingly don't anymore, and I'm disappointed because these were perfect. These were perfect sketchbooks that I loved. Paper was really nice quality. It was hardcover. Sketchbooks should be hardcover, so you can do the sketching anywhere. And I can't find them anymore. And I love them. I know I don't. Anyway, so and they have cheaper ones now that I just don't like. And you're like, well, just go to an art store. And I live in the frickin' sticks. I can't. That is a day trip and a half to go downtown to a good art store. That I plan my whole day to go to an art store to get supplies from there. So can't. It was nice to have Barnes & Noble, which is a 15-minute drive, that I could go and pick some stuff up. And the one near me has started being real cheap and not having good stuff anymore. And it is depressing. They also got rid of graphic novels and a ton of stuff. So I'm super thrilled with the way they're running that. And that is just, I'm eternally depressed by that. But I'm bummed by that. I have been going to that Barnes & Noble since I was like 15. Oh, God. Since like freshman year of high school. Before that was, and I would go pick up a comic, and when I started getting into art, I would pick up supplies there if I didn't have time to go down to the nice fancy store downtown. And cheapening out. And probably a me demographic that reliably bought that stuff was not keeping them in check, and I understand why, and I am appreciative of that, but I don't know. And you're not going to an independent bookstore. I would, again, live in the flippin' sticks. Not really that many independent bookstores. An hour or two away for some good ones. Any ones. There aren't really any. There is like, I think there's like a model shop near here that has a small rack of comic books that I've gone into once or twice, and it's not exactly the sort of thing you want. They're nice people. It's but it's side note, if I could, about how stores as of late. I don't think this is the store's fault. I think this is landlords or the spaces that are available to these stores. But I am tired of walking into a store and it feeling like I don't know, an office space, or like a space. An office space would be better. Like it's not warm. Stores aren't warm anymore. I get a sense that it's a lot of stores taking their cues from like Apple stores and stuff. But it just feels bland and minimalist, and there's no natural light. Listen, when I'm shopping, natural light is really important. I cannot emphasize that enough. It feels like a casino. That's what it feels like. There are stores, a ton of stores I've been to, and they all feel like casinos. The way casinos try and obscure, darken it, like the sun, so you don't have a good perception of time. That's what it feels like. I'm trying to give details. This is, by the way, so not what the reference looked. I've gone a little bit off kilter for what the reference is, but yeah, whatever. I shouldn't be so beholden to the reference. I am very nervous how beholden I've gotten to references as a thing. I feel like this would be good this idea would be good in connection with a more traditional drawing. We do the more traditional drawing, and then you add on top of this like the shading and stuff, because it's like, this is, I think this looks kind of really neat, but I think I would need like some guidelines, shading guidelines. Although, easy to clean. Let's use a trowel. Let's tug to get a little bit more. I can tell that this is going to play with my nose. I feel bad for complaining about like, small businesses, but whatever. I didn't name them. One of the art stores in Canada, you're being staffed by a little bit of a douchebag, and I'll leave you to that. Enjoy your adequate arts funding. So there's some decent ideas here. God, this shit messes with my hands. Although I suspect this is going to be very easy to clean, which is good because I ruined a lot of my brushes using ink. And then we'll cut out. So something. Try this again. Last time. This will be the last time I do something like this. Not the last time. I should just finger paint, right? Like that's what I should just do. Use the Trello. Sometimes, like, I'll know the correct pronunciation to a word, but I'll keep saying it over and over again, and eventually, at some point, there's a little error that gets in, and it'll just keep going till that dominates the way I say it, because I'll forget what the exact pronunciation is, but I've been saying it a certain way, and it just accelerates so much. And I'm terrified I've done this with these Trellios. Like, famous, it's not that famous, but I made a video once talking about Kurt Busiek, where I pronounce his name Kurt Buseniwak, or I forget how. It was some wild pronunciation, and I had been saying that for years, and I heard it. I must have heard it, and I have no idea where I got picked up from that. I don't know. Great writer though, one of my favorites. I used to I don't know. I used to irritate him because I responded once to his tweet. And this was back before it occurred to me that celebrities might read the responses on their tweets. And he was annoyed. I didn't think he was going to respond to me. It wasn't anything bad. I just disagreed with him about the opinion about a movie. And he responded. I'm like, oh, God. And I was just so nervous. I'm like, what the heck? Wait, they can do that? I thought they ignored. I assumed on Twitter I was just shouting into the void. And a celebrity responded, and I'm like, that's not how this works. I am a nobody. I am the unknown. I am an unknown figure here. What you wrote Astro City, my good man. You are much better than me. It was fine. He wasn't a jerk at all. Then I may have taken that as an incentive to be a little bit more familiar with him than I probably should have been. Again, very anxious, very much wanted. Oh, you know what the dream was. It's like, oh, Sean, you're so funny and cool on Twitter. Come, let me produce let me get you in the door for a big comic company or sign off on you. Sure, Sean, you can write some issues of Astro City. And I love Astro City so much. That's my favorite comic book series ever. I was going to review it all on this channel, and then I got distracted and didn't do that, which was a mistake. But I should. I honestly, part of it is I found the whole idea so overwhelming when I was starting to do it that I think I'd still like to cover it, but I don't think I'm going to cover it in strict chronological order. Just cover stuff I'm interested in it. I theoretically erase this. Should be, right? It's pencils. Did I make that worse? Possibly. I don't like this eraser. It's not a great eraser. I don't know why I keep it. Well, it's because I take the good ones with me, and so I often forget to bring them back. How long this video is. I released a video like this before, where it's just me talking on stream, where I drew Smiling Friends characters, and that surprisingly did okay. Like that did okay. And I had a suspicion it would do some numbers because I was curious about. It's a show I liked, and I knew it's a show I liked. I knew that was popular to do, so I could do it. I even watched a YOLO thing, YOLO Crystal Fantasy, because of that, which I also ended up liking. So I guess I like those shows. Anyways, reminds me of home movies, which is slowly becoming my favorite show. Thing is, I liked home movies when I saw it. It was just never on, so I could never get into it. But a few weeks ago, I sat down and watched it all, and that show rules. I love that show now. That's a show I watch when I'm bored, and I don't have any other shows I'm in the mood to watch. So this is, I'm seeing this as a possibility. Obviously, I don't know if you can do this totally by itself as a thing, and maybe I'll try the expensive ones, my more expensive brushes, because these are not great. But if we can sit down and try these more expensive brushes, but if in another video. But I'm seeing this as a definite possibility, as something that could work, as a thing to add to the arsenal of tools. Because I don't hate the results. This idea needs more refining, and I'm sure the 5 or 6 people that will very politely watch the first few seconds of this video and then click off probably have heard of artists doing this before. I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought of it, but I'm not hating this. This is not an idea I'm hating. I want to do just like a little. Actually, maybe try and do some more charcoal stuff, because it's almost a little bit like charcoal. If you guys have never read The Visitor. Should give that a read, by the way. That is a comic purely with reading. I've had this discussion before. A Visitor is a totally wordless comic. One of my favorite comics is a comic called Frank, and that, besides one instance, is almost completely wordless. And I've often wondered, are you reading comics that don't have words? Does that count as reading? I think so, but it is interesting to think. If a comic has words, can you read it, or is that a different phenomenon? Are we? I guess ultimately it isn't. It's because words are just very abstract representation, picture representations of things. But it's strange to think about. But you should read The Visitor if it is reading, which I think it is. 90% sure, 95, and read Frank. Two very good comics that eschew words and let their art tell the whole story. And when you are as good an artist as the people behind those, you're very comfortable with that. Seriously, the second eye is still getting me. And my slightly experimental, me trying to be a little bit more experimental informed. I like doing these types of videos, by the way. These just kind of where I just hang out and chat. I guess these are like vlogs. I like doing them. They're fun. So I was about to trip over. See what I mean? It's funny is you have to be really aggressive with this one. Like, you can't just do it a little bit. You have to like be very aggressive with it, or it doesn't work. Now, if I'm drawing a person, which I almost always am, I always give them a mouth, and the reason is because people have mouths. That's the reason for that. Also, because if I don't, I picture them screaming, but with no mouth. They have no mouth and they must scream. So I force myself to do that because otherwise it scares me. I think I am not disliking this idea. I think I have some. This is nothing at all a reference I was using, by the way. But I am not disliking this idea. I think there is some merit to this. It needs some refinement, but I think I'm going to return to this idea at some point. I think I'm going to keep trying this because I think, like, conjunction with like maybe a more traditional pencil drawing and stuff like that, I think this would look really nice. I don't know. This would be kind of cool because I'm insecure with like coloring and stuff as a thing, but this I think there's something to this idea that I can't just so easily dismiss. If I stream tonight, I'm in a better mood now. It was stress headache. I get a lot of stress headaches. I'll do this picture more traditionally. The more traditional way I do it, but it's a very good reference. Or I might make another video like this. I like making these sorts of videos. I think they're fun to make. And now we're going to, because why not, right? Give it a full blue smear. Let's see. Let's be perfect. Is this the best drawing I've ever done? No, I was being experimental and just wanted to try something a little different. I don't know. I think this is kind of cool. I think there is some merit to this idea. I'm sure there are artists who have done this by themselves who have done better than me. That's not hard, but you know what? I got in my head to try experimenting with form and structure, and I did something a little bit different, and I don't totally hate the result, and I think there's something I'm going to justify myself, even though whatever. So this was a fun little thing for people who sat and watched this. Thank you. And for people who didn't have the time, I get it. Thanks for sticking with me. Bye. Have fun. Please follow if you don't, and but if you don't want to, thank you for spending your time with me.